Welcome back to the Rugby World Cup show, and in today's one we're actually going to be looking at, the tournament stats. Now, please keep in mind these tournament stats are obviously not giving you the full picture, as because of the fact that most teams are only like halfway through the World Cup, and some of them played easier teams, so there were more tries scored and more points scored, and other teams played tougher teams. Some teams have played 3 games and some teams have only played 2 games. But let's have a look at the tournament stats so far. So the first stat there you can see at the moment, Henry Arundel running in 5 tries against Chile alone. Now, I have to say, even though he's on 5 tries, we know that they're chasing that 8-try World Cup record, which I think a few players are going to break in this World Cup. Arundel now well on his way with 5 tries, and some of those tries were not really, in my opinion, outstanding tries. He pretty much walked them in. Chile was just sucked into the defense, and there was so much space out wide. But Arundel getting the 5 tries there, and now the lead try scorer in the World Cup. And then going on most conversions, now this is a good one. Thomas Ramos and Johnny Sexton has probably been the 2 best kickers in this World Cup so far. Ramos not even, I think, playing all the games, but where he played, he doesn't miss. Ramos just doesn't miss kicks. He's such an example of a good, place kicker. And then if we take the example of the Springboks and how they've struggled with that, you look at a guy like Ramos and just his total technique being amazing. So he's leading with 13 conversions there. Then moving on, Bundi Aki. Now, Bundi Aki in this World Cup has only but been outstanding. My opinion, being a Springbok supporter, I have to say, Bundi Aki to me, best inside centre in the best form in the world right now. This guy is playing amazing. 53 runs, in the lead runs, player at the moment in the tournament. So he breaks the line a lot and he makes a lot of meters. And because he breaks the line so much, because of his size, he's got, blinding pace for such a big guy. And then he breaks the line so well with 53 breaks there. And as you can see there, guys, 24 out of 48 games played. So we right through the half of the World Cup. So these stats can still change a lot. Most points, we know Henry Ford kept that for a little while, but that's been taken over by none other than Johnny Sexton, one of the oldest players in the team, the oldest fly-off, I think, in World Rugby right now, and such a strong, guy. And when I'm saying strong, for his age, how fit he is and how tough he is. Some of those tackles that was made on him in the game against the Springboks, and he just keeps coming back, standing back up. He's that tough. He's just such a tough rugby player. 45 points at the moment. He's already scored 3 tries, and this is the thing with him. He's got such a vision because Ireland moves the ball through their hands so often. So often he can just pretend that he's passing that dummy, and he just breaks the line and scores tries. So 3 tries for him, 12 conversions and 2 penalties, putting him on 45 points and the leading most points for a player. Now, guys, we know this might change because DuPont, unfortunately, getting that high tackle on his cheek, and it's a fracture in the cheek or in the bone, so he's out for the rest of the World Cup. That changes a lot for France, I think, because he was such a playmaker and he's such a danger man. Don't write France off. This is not all. The whole game doesn't evolve around DuPont. Let's be honest. They're still a very dangerous team, but DuPont just brought that little bit, that kind of like X factor, which I think they will be missing going forward. But he's still got the most offloads. I know Bundi Aki had that for a while. It's been taken over by him. And then another Frenchman, Damien Penaud. Now, Damien Penaud, clean breaks. That's the thing of this guy, The way that he often finds himself break a tackle and just makes so much field, and often almost scores. He's been an outstanding winger, and he's just had, for me, that little bit more than many other wingers, just in line breaks. He just breaks the line quite often at the right times. he somehow finds himself in the right spots as a wing to be able to do that, and a great player. Then most tackles. Now this is one thing I've got to say, Wales have just been getting better and better in this World Cup. They didn't look that good building up to the World Cup, but you can see since Gatland just had needed some time. Now, to me, probably the opposite of what Eddie Jones had been able to do with Australia. Gatland's been able to do with Wales. He defaulted back to Wales type rugby, which is a very good type of rugby to play in a World Cup. Play a more tighter type game. Very good at their defense. Gatland is good at managing his defense because of his style of playing. You can see there most tackles, Jack Morgan. That's why, because they've been so good at defense. They totally shut down Australia. Australia didn't have answers how to break that Welsh line. Now guys, now we look at the top 5 players in all those different divisions. So number 1 points, we know Johnny Sexton with 45 at the top. Thomas Ramos chasing hard with 41 points, and with him also George Ford. So both these guys could be chasing Johnny Sexton for that first spot. Ben Donaldson still on 4th there. He might get some more points in this last game, but then he will obviously fall off as Australia is out of the World Cup. For all of you that don't know, quite a shocker. Very poor performance in their last game. And then Tommaso Allen from Italy, also amazing to also see him on the board there with 27. Then moving on, 5 top try scorers. So number 1 at the moment, Henry Arundel up there. He's got the 5 tries against Chile. Bundi Aki with 4, so not far behind. The Irish had a tough game against South Africa, low scoring, and don't be surprised, this guy comes back and scores a lot of tries in the next few games. He's just that dangerous. And another guy that could be chasing Henry Arundel is of course Damien Penaud. Penaud, again, I just don't know if the French will play him in this last game, but Penaud is such a try scorer. He's just got a way to find the line, break the line and score. He's in with 4 as well. And then nice to see a Samoan there, Sama Malolo, on 3 tries with Lewis Bilberry from Italy. So interesting there to see who's in 4th and 5th. It's not necessarily your big teams, but hey. Then looking at runs, you can see Bundiaki with the most runs, just such a good runner, like we've explained. And then wow, look at this, guys. This is what's so interesting, Tonga second there with David Niniashvili in second with 33. And then Paolo Garbisi with 31 runs as well. Hugo Keenan with 31 runs. We know he had quite a few decent runs against the Springboks, which was quite amazing. They used him well in the back line. And then Mark Nawakakwatawase. That Australia is going to be out. Sad for this guy, because he's been the one guy in that Australian team that I've got to tell you has been amazing, but at least I wouldn't have to pronounce this anymore. Nawakakwatawase. That's the best I can do. But Mark, unfortunately for him, playing in an outstanding player at the moment, playing in a very out of form Australian team, and this guy could have been much higher up if he played with the right type of team. Then going to conversions, top 5, we see there Thomas Ramos at the top, Johnny Sexton chasing hard with 12 conversions, just behind. Tommaso Allen also just behind with 12. Then going all the way to only 8, we've got Owen Farrell, which hasn't even been playing, and he's still on there. Just shows you how poor the other teams have been kicking. It's really just been these 2 teams that's been really, really outstanding with their kicking, France and Ireland. South Africa's been very poor. I've got to say, the All Blacks, they have obviously made changes for their last game, so they might go up again. But I mean, Damien McKenzie, a very good goal kicker as well. There with Owen Farrell, that's also a good goal kicker. So we'll see what happens there. That should also change quite a bit. Then offloads, the Pond's still there, like I've explained. His World Cup's over, so you will be overtaken. And then good to see Jack Dempsey there from Scotland with 6 offloads. Matkava from Tonga also there with 5. It's good to see, the minnow teams in here. Lester Fangianuku with 5. And Montana Ioane from Italy. I mean, boy, that guy is electric. He's so dangerous. Then tackles made, we spoke about Jack Morgan, and then again, of course, Tonga also. You know, these guys have to make a lot of tackles. They're playing against some big teams there, you know, Ireland and Scotland. Tali Tui, 37. Gareth Thomas, again, another Welsh. It just shows you how they've had to defend. Also 37. Sigren from Georgia, 37. And Cornelsen from Japan, 35. A lot of tackling happening in this World Cup, and let's see how that changes as the games progress. Clean breaks, Damien Penaud, like I've said, danger. Bundi Aki chasing him with 8 right behind him. And then you've got Italy with Louis Bilberry, Caleb Clark also in there from the All Blacks, and Mac Hansen, another danger player. Lastly, guys, the two things is looking at cards. Obviously not the best performances, you don't want to get cards. Yellows, we've got Ditters there leading with 2, you know, for Georgia. Then we've got Van Jaarsveld with that. Van Jaarsveld has had 1 for Namibia. It's tough. These guys have to do a lot more tackles than a lot of the other teams. So it's so much easier to you have a high tackle or something. Modebatse from Georgia 1. Domakovsky from Wales. And then Carreras from Argentina. Then going on to the last one, which is the red cards. So the red cards, Johan Deisel, that terrible tackle on Dupont, costing him his World Cup. Tom Curry in that first game, high tackle. Then we've got Pinto there from Portugal, Fifita from Tonga, and then of course Ethan de Groot, that I felt was a very, very tough call. Then top 5 teams, we can see points wise, Ireland at the top, France second with 150, England third in points, and South Africa fourth. England's had a good campaign so far. They've been scoring points, especially in that game against Chile. This might change as South Africa go into the last game, but they've not been the highest point scorers. Ireland love to move the ball, and I see Ireland, you know, staying on top of this. Tries, Ireland again 21, France 19, Springboks 15, England 15, and New Zealand 13. Now you can see there England and Springboks actually 15 tries each, but the big difference is England put their kicks through, so that's what gives them more points, and that's been one of the costly things for the South Africans, not really competing as much in these stats. And then conversions, we can see there Ireland first with 20, France with only 16, Italy with 12, and England with 12 in conversions, Wales with 9, Springboks don't even feature. And then offloads, we see there Ireland first, France second, understandable, that's what I expected. And interesting there, you've got Wales, Australia and Italy, no Springboks, no All Blacks, wow. And All Blacks well known for their offloads. All Blacks so far not been the best campaign, but also not the worst. Not for me up to the standard of some of these other players if you look at the stats and teams. Tackles, by far, you see how far ahead Wales are. And guys, let me tell you, this is a warning sign for teams out there. Don't write Wales off in this World Cup. With their really, really good defense, they could get far. They could beat the bigger teams from the other side of the pools, because they are so well trained now in tackling. You know, they're on 506 tackles. The closest to that is South Africa and France with 352. So it just shows you how good of a defending team they are. Chile with 345 tackles, which is right up there for minnows, that's good. And England 333. Clean breaks, we see of course Ireland there, understandable. France right behind them. New Zealand like I would have expected. Then England with more clean breaks than the South Africa. We'll see after the last game if that change. But England has had a decent campaign, but they've not had the same opposition as what the other side of the pools have had. Yellow cards, Chile leading. I feel for these guys. You know, getting smashed every week and having to tackle properly over and over and over is not easy. 5 yellow cards, just general discipline starts going when you play these big games. Samoa with 3, the same thing, you know, tough games. Namibia with 2, Wales with 2, and Italy with 1. Italy with 2. Red cards, the last thing we'll look at, guys. Tonga with 1 red card, England with 1 red card, New Zealand, Namibia, and Portugal. so far, being halfway through this tournament, I think the teams have done pretty well with these kind of strict laws when it comes to tackling. To have only conceded so many red cards, it could have been much worse, in my opinion, and the games have been super competitive. Well, guys, tell me what you think of those stats. It's a bit skewed. I think it's not totally right, but I think a lot of those guys on top might stay on top. It's clear that from an overall tournament perspective, the Springboks have changed players a lot, so they don't feature right up there. Their conversions has not been good. The All Blacks have not been outstanding at all these things. Fiji still have a shot. They've got a few games still to play with clean breaks and a lot of these stats. And let's see with the rest of the teams who comes up in these last two games, because we know it's also going to be a little bit skewed because you've got tougher games on the A and B pool, and the C and D, you just have, there's bigger differences between the teams so they can score more points. But all in all, well done to England so far. Well done to the Welsh. England have found good form. The Welsh is looking pretty decent. Fiji's done outstandingly well, even though they're not showing on these stats. Springboks had a tough one against Ireland, but we know they could have won that one had they made better decisions. But well deserved by Ireland. They are looking to me like the tournament leaders, and the stats show it, looking the best in this tournament. As we didn't really know if we could expect it because of past World Cups, but they clearly proving that we are here to play. We're not a team we've been in previous World Cups, so don't look back then. And we know that the coach often say that don't go back to that. Things have changed a lot, and clearly it has. France right behind them as hosts, and then you've got the Springboks and the All Blacks chasing. On the day, any of these teams can, win the game, win games, and make big scores, which can change these stats. We'll have a look at it again as the tournament progresses, maybe more towards the end. But hey, if you liked seeing these stats, it's stuff that you don't see every day, hit the subscribe button so my next videos come up in your home screen. And see you then. Thanks for watching. Bye.